Hey everybody. So I've been asked a couple of questions about how to set up your DNS server on Azure versus actually locally to your actual office or site or home or however you want to kind of put that location. With Azure, there's a little bit different methods to go about. I'm going to show you a quick kind of dirty way of doing it. There's better secure ways, but I want to show you how to just get set up and then secure later. Now that isn't a good approach in most cases, and usually you want to do it here, but Azure is actually pretty good at securing you in general, so you don't have to worry about it so much. But right now I'm just going to show you the quick and simple way to set up a DNS server in Azure, and then from there you guys can figure out the best method of how you want to actually set up those security rules. So the first start off, I'm starting off with a Windows Server 2016 in Azure, like I said. And it's going to be running DNS and IIS. The reason why I have IIS on there is to make sure that I have my IPs available to go through the firewall. I'm getting DNS correctly. And let alone I don't have a server set up to host the website. So I'm actually going to use this to host this website since this is just a dummy domain that I have. So to start it all off, you just set up a server. We got Windows Server 2016. From that server, you're going to have your basic rules. As you can see, I have mine running on the West US data location. It has a virtual network. It has a public IP. Now, this public IP is very helpful. Main reason why is since I'm running Windows Server, I can click connect, and I can get RDP to just appear. And as you can see, I'm already connected to that server, so we know we're good there. On this server, I also have DNS set up. The domain, in this case, in my testing, is going to be gmscripts.info. I set up basically two NS records just for safety. I also set up my www and the primary domain. The other thing that I've also set up is IIS, like I told you earlier. And this isn't really needed in this case, but I want to show you a working example. And as you can see here, I have data binding. It isn't forced to any specific name. I could force that to a name if need be. Now, right now, whenever I try to do DNS off the server, so this is actually not on the server, so let me close out of RDP here. This is actually from my personal computer. So I know the external IP. I'm going to try to do NS lookup. As you see, I get DNS timed out. That means I don't have rules in the firewall. And you might have set them up originally when you put up the server in Azure, but if you didn't, I'm going to actually show you how to do that. So the first start off is if you just open up your server, in my case 2016 Azure DNS, go to your resource group. This is the way I know how to get to it. There might be better ways. Click the video. The security shield is basically the firewall rules or network security group. And once you get there, as you can see, I already have one rule in there. That's for my 80 port. I just did it to get it set up and get ready. So the next thing I have to do is click add, and then we're going to go here. So what I did is I clicked the inbound. There's a little icon next to it. That will pop up all the inbound security rules. From those security rules, now I'm going to add a rule. In this case, I'm just going to do DNS. And the reason why I'm not going to use let's see if I can find it here. Okay, good, it doesn't have it. Last time I went through here, it actually had presets. In this case, I'm not going to be using presets. See, like this. Mainly because DNS can work on TCP and UDP. And I'm going to go advanced for this because I want to go any. I'm going to allow any source ports. That means anywhere in the world they can access my DNS. And you can lock that down just to your for your local people if you're just going to be using an outbound Active Directory server plus DNS, etc. So we know it runs on port 53. Destination, I don't need to worry about locking it down. But if you really did want to lock it down, you can lock it down to say, hey, you can only access my internet source or one of my virtual networks. But in this case, I'm just going to choose any because I want to show you how to just get this up and running and get it working. And then for actions, we're going to allow it. Mainly if we deny it, it's never going to work. It's already actually denied. You might not see the default rules here. Deny all inbound is the primary, and that's at 655.000, or 00, my bad. And the reason these numbers of priority are saying in the order of how it goes down rules. So say if I try to access the web server, right? I go down the first rule. Does this allow 80? Nope. Second rule, does this allow 80? Yes. Okay, so what if I try DNS right now? Does this one allow DNS? No. Does this one allow DNS? No. Does that one? No. Well, it does if you're internal. So this was internal and internal. These are all outside sources. These only allow internal sources. So say if you have multiple servers in the same VLAN on Azure, they can talk to each other perfectly fine in the virtual network. That's why it's set to any. But if I'm outside source, any. Okay, these don't have DNS. And if I make it down to the bottom, that one's a deny any. So that's why we need to add in our DNS rule. And you can change this rule priority. We can say, hey, I want this rule to be a priority of 900. There we go. And we're done. Click OK. Boom, boom. So as you can see, it's starting to create the rule. And these rules, after they get put in, it might take from, I think last time I did it, it took about 3 minutes. So I'm going to say it can take anywhere from 2 minutes to 10 minutes. Honestly, it's actually really quick. And now you see the rule doesn't instantly show up here. I don't know if it's just a glitch in the browser I'm using or such. But if you just toggle this default rules, it'll refresh it. So as you see, DNS is now in here. Now if I try it instantly, like I said, it probably won't work. Done. See, DNS timed out. So we're going to wait a few seconds. Now another thing that we can do is, since I already have that RDP session open, I want to show you that the DNS is working on this server. So we're just going to go here. We're going to go command line. And I just want to make sure this DNS is working. So if we go NS lookup, we're going to choose localhost. Because I didn't set up these. This is actually DHCP'd from Exchange through their DHCP server. And the good thing about Azure is if your DHCP IP is actually different from the last time, Azure will update that. So if I rebooted the server and I got 10.0.0.5 instead of .4, it will know that in Azure. So your public IP, you don't have to worry about as much. So, but if you want to feel safer than sorry, you can always set this to a static IP. Now, let's just do a lookup on gmscripts.info. Ta-da! And my DNS is timing out. Boom. Okay, I got it. So this DNS timeout is actually occurred in many different ways. It's just how you have it set up, and you can actually do more to get that fixed. In this case, I just wanted a simple setup, so I'm sorry if it's going to be throwing this error. It's not supposed to do that, and there's a couple of tweaks I haven't done to get it fully set up correctly. And the reason why that is, I'm setting this up quickly because Azure uses money, and I don't want to use money. Instead, I want to use the free credits I have to give you this video. So we know we can get gmscripts.info, and if I go www.gmscripts.info, if I can type correctly, just give it a few seconds here. I should get a response. There we go. So it says, okay, www.gmscripts.info is an alias of this IP for gmscripts.info. And that is correct because I used the Cname in this situation. The other thing that we're doing is we're just waiting for this to be applied. So let's go and see if that rule fully set in now. Hey, as you see, I didn't get an instant response that said failure, right? So let's go gmscripts.info. Boom, instant response. What about www.gmscripts.info? Okay, so as you can see, I'm working perfectly fine. I get all my responses back through DNS now. Now, the main issue that we're going to run into is the domain actually using that as its host name. And that's when we go to Godaddy over here. And I have a couple of domains here, and we're going to be using this one in this situation. So I'm just going to click that domain in Godaddy. And as you can see, it's going to be like, hey, you need to fix your conversation menu, I'm not really worried about that. In this case, we're going to go to Dns Management. As you can see, it has the basic default records that you're going to see anyways that you set up your domain through Godaddy. If you keep on scrolling down to the bottom here, you're going to have these name servers. And you're going to have down here host names. And this has changed since the last video I've done, so this is a little bit more updated. And as you can see, I set in a host name of NS1 138.91.249.90. And that's just to verify that is the correct IP. So I'm going to actually back out of a lot of these. You can see. So we have 138.91.249.90. 138.91.249.90. Okay, so we're good on there. We have our first host name. So let's go back to DNS Management. And now we need to change over the name servers. So it's going to be like, hey, you want default or custom? And we're going to go custom. ns1.gmscripts, if I can type, .info. Now, it might get a little bit angry with me because I only have one. ns1.gmscripts. Let's see if it'll allow me to do it twice. Yep, it got bad. Okay, so in this case, I messed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trick the system. I'm going to copy this NS24 and click change. I'm going to go custom We're going to set that as our secondary. Now, if you really want to do this correctly, go down to host names, add in 2 NS1 and an NS2, and use the same IP if you really wanted to, or use 2 different IPs, depending on how you have your server set up in Azure, or if you have multiple servers. In this case, I'm doing a no-no here. I'm going to try to force it through Godaddy. Godaddy usually allows you. This one is unavailable. Okay, so the next issue that we're running into is I have just set this up. So this ns1.gmscripts.info, I just set it up. Please correct it and resubmit your request. And the reason for that is because since I just set it up, it might show it here, but it's not correct. Well, it is correct, but it's not there yet. So if I go add IP, I can add another IP here. Or I can click add. Okay, well, since we're sitting here anyways. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to figure out what a noise was. And then we're done add number 2. Now, this does take a little while. And yes, it will take a while. So in that situation, we're just gonna override it. And in my case, I'm gonna override it because I wanna get this video out so you guys know it's working. And you have seen I can do DNS, and that's the whole point why we had PowerShell here. And just kind of show you that it is working correctly, I'm gonna go open this real quick. And we're gonna add a new route into this. And sorry for the background noise. We're gonna add a new Cname. We're gonna go Cname NS, actually we're not gonna do NS, we're gonna do haha because it isn't working for me. And we're gonna force it to gmscripts.info. Now, there's different ways you can do this. You can go and click this browse button, go into here, and I'm gonna do it anyways, but you can just instantly just type that in. And then we're gonna go with this one. And same as parent folders because I set in a record that had no special alias or name to it. So it goes default to the main domain. And I'm gonna click there and I'm gonna click OK. Haha. Okay, so we know we added haha. I'm gonna go right here and info. Will I get a response? Haha. So we know haha exists. So as you can see, I'm using Azure and I'm getting my DNS. Now the issue is GoDaddy is taking a while for the NS records. And that can take up to, I've had it take up to 24 hours, honestly, but it should take only up to an hour at times. So in this situation, we'll try this one more time. Do I still have that pasted? Yes, I do. We'll try to do this again. gmscripts.info. Maybe I mistyped it, and that could have been the case. Boom. These will be while updating. Summary confirmation. Please check your inbox. What? Oh, that's new. Okay, so it's going to confirm. So as you can see, I did set in that NS server, NS1. It finally got put in. So it took about 20 minutes. And I might have mistyped it earlier. I don't know until I review the video. But we're going to actually still have the secondary as GoDaddy, so I can actually edit things here. So like I can go right here and go, hey, that isn't the right IP. So let's get that right IP. I'm going to move that over here so I can actually see it when I type it in. 138.91.249.90. And this is because I want a secondary. If I left everything into one server, that's perfectly fine. But what happens if that server went down and I still want the website available? Then I want a second server. In this case, I'm not setting up a second Azure server, and I'm not using a local server at my house or at another data center. So what am I going to do? I'm going to force it over to have an IP with GoDaddy, with its secondary server. And these records won't disappear just because you used an external. Now, depending on how you set it up, it can disappear. I'm not going to say it does never disappear, but they should stay if you set it up kind of like how I have it set up right now. So we know we have that. And if I go back over here, I don't think the DNS is set up for this yet, but we'll try real quick. Let's just do a ping to gmscript or ns1 ns1.gmscripts.info. Alright, ping cannot be requested because that hasn't updated. So it's going to take a little while to update. So to override that, we can edit our host file right in here. Now with the newer Windows 8, Windows 10, and all that, you have to do a little trick for this host file if you haven't ever edited it before. And just so you know, it's under C, Windows, System32, drivers, etc. So etc. And this is where you find the host. And so what you do is you copy it and you paste it to your desktop. From there, you just want to open it and just open it in Notepad. It won't save it because it has no file extension. And you'll get a file kind of like this. And I just want to make sure my DNS is working for that server. So we're gonna go, if I remember the IP, I've just been typing it 90 times. So 138.91.249.90. We're gonna go ns1.gmscripts.info. And let's add another record here just to make sure the site's working correctly, because I don't know if the name servers have fully updated. And that's the issue. I'm not being patient and waiting for the name servers. And name servers can take a while. Like I said, it supposedly takes up to 4 hours. And if I have to get a confirmation email, I have to open up my Outlook. I have to go and verify that that email came in, approve it, and all this other bullshit before I get to my final outcome. But if you have time in most cases, when you're setting up a new network or you're trying to get something working, you just wait for it. But if you want to verify and test it, this is how you test it. So I have my NS1. I want to make sure I got NS1 in there. And then I just want to make sure the main website works. And this is just making sure that my port 90 is actually going through. Just because I said NS1 in here does not mean the name servers are up to date in the main DNS servers, top level DNS servers. So I can't really fix that. In this case, I can override my local and allow me to verify that site works. And so we're going to save that. So you go back to your desktop host file, click copy, and then paste it, and we're going to overwrite it. So to kind of just show you that that's updated, we're going to go ping. Boom. Okay, I have my IP. Now, why is ping not working? I did not open up a firewall port in Azure to allow that through. And I'm just going to re-show you again, kind of get that through your kind of heads, because it took me a little while to understand it. I have no ICMP port open. So I don't have to worry about that. So, and now we go back to this, and let's go and make sure NSLookup works correctly. So we're going nslookup-ns1.gmscripts.info. Boom. Hey, got my DNS server. Let's go gmscripts.info. What do I get for an IP? Hey, I got an IP, www.scripts.info. Boom. And last one, but not sure. I can't even talk correctly. Sorry, guys. gmscripts.info. Boom, we got all our DNS records back. So let's try getting the website to work. gmscripts.info. Boom. Okay, so I didn't set the www record in there. Does it work? Yes. Okay. So as you see, the www does work. Now, once you get partially some of the stuff set up, it will start working. But please be aware, I'm overriding a lot of the process that needs to be done through GoDaddy and all that. So in this case, this is a test validation. And we validated that we have DNS going through, and we have port 80 going through. So we're allowed to get our website through it, we're allowed to get our DNS through it, and get our job done. And the greatest tools that you can have is CMD or PowerShell. Use the nslookup command. If you want to make sure you want to test it, that host file that I recently just showed you in the Windows System 32 drivers and etc folder, that host file is phenomenal. Whenever you need to do anything for this type of testing, it is great and very useful. And finally, I did a little editing on the ISS page to kind of show you that I am on the gmscripts.info server. Now I'm on that server that I recently set up. And just the final validation, kind of show you through the RDP session here. Now, my RDP, as I popped up earlier, I'm going to show you this again before I close out this video, is my DNS isn't set locally. So will my DNS show that website? Most likely not. But I can show you a different way of showing it. My browser opens here. Running on one core server here, cheapest as possible. But we're just going to go HTTP localhost. Boom. And there you go. So that's my DNS server, or my IIS server, and it's working. My DNS server has all its records in it and everything. I have my network configuration set up. I have IIS, and I know my local DNS works. You can see the local DNS server doesn't like it so much, but after a while it'll start working a little bit better than before, and it'll start catching. Let alone if you haven't used the DNS server, the first couple of times calling new records out of it will sometimes cause it to delay. And there's other things, you can read documentation on it that know more information than I do, but I'm just here to show you how it works. So if you have any questions on the video, please leave a comment or a like. Hopefully this is helpful for those trying to set it up on Azure.